Hello and welcome to Delicious and Nutritious. My name is Chef Jerry Levine, and I'm joined with Marcia Richards, registered dietitian from Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in the great town of Plymouth. A special thanks goes out to PAC TV and the Plymouth Center for Active Living for helping us bring this show to all of you. I'm going to do today aromatic shrimp cocktail. It is dynamite. But before I do that, we're going to turn it over to Marcia for a moment.
Thank you. And welcome to Delicious and Nutritious. This is going to be an awesome segment on a super healthy and delicious and nutritious appetizer. I think you're all going to learn a new way to make shrimp cocktail that will impress you to no end. So after we watch the video, I'll be back and I'm going to share some information about the nutritional benefits associated with shellfish and seafood. So let's watch Jerry's demonstration for this delicious and nutritious appetizer.
Well, today we are going to do one of the most popular appetizers that one would be buying in a restaurant. And it's basically a shrimp cocktail. Now, what's a shrimp cocktail? Well, a shrimp cocktail is made from shrimp. And this size shrimp here is what is called 3140s. And that means 31 to 40 counts per pound. So the larger the number, the smaller the shrimp. Now, shrimp normally will come with a shell and on the tail as well as the sides, and it comes in a number of different ways. One of the most popular kinds is what is called easy peel, which has got a cut along the back, and that does two things. One is it opens up the shell, so all you have to do with your thumbs is just spread it apart, and it falls away. The other thing that it does is that there is a vein in the back, and it's called a sand vein, but what it really is the intestinal tract. And the purpose of removing that is because there may be sand in it. So that's what that is called. Now, these are 3140s. All right. Now, this is a bit of a smaller shrimp. In a restaurant, you're probably going to get a 2025, or maybe a 1520. But anyway, this is the raw shrimp. How do we know it's raw? Because it's not red. And this is cooked shrimp. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to take and do a recipe that is essentially using the typical way of cooking shrimp, which is generally in water, maybe a little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of lemon juice. But I was in New York City and I happened to have a shrimp cocktail because my daughter-in-law said, "Jerry, this is the best shrimp cocktail anybody's ever done. Can you figure out what's in here?" So, as a matter of fact, I did. So I went home and ultimately I decided I'm going to use a little dried basil, a little bit of cumin, and one of my favorite things, a bay leaf. Okay, what did I do? I put that into the water that I was cooking with, and I added a tiny little bit of lemon juice. Now, what was the purpose of this? It was to intensify the flavor of the shrimp. Did I want the bay leaf or the cumin to stand out as a predominant thing? No, I did not, because I still wanted the shrimp. I wanted these other things to complement the shrimp. So we put it in there, and we put it into our pan, and we put all of our ingredients into the pan, and we brought it up to a slow boil. Then I put the shrimp in, and I cooked the shrimp for exactly 3 minutes. And I set a timer. And the purpose of that is I didn't want to overcook it, and I didn't want to undercook it. So this is what I ended up with here. Now, what are we going to serve this with? Well, normally we serve it with what is called a cocktail sauce. So the cocktail sauce, you can either buy one in the supermarket, you can get it in the restaurant. Well, I developed a cocktail sauce which I really like. And it's made with a chili sauce. It's made with ketchup, a little bit of Worcestershire, a little bit of lemon juice, and one of my favorite things in life, Tabasco. Okay, so we've got a little heat, and we've got different flavors, and then it comes out looking like this here. And look at the texture of it, and that is the way it should be. You don't want it too soft, and you don't want it very thick. So what do we do with it? Well, next thing we want to do is we want to go about plating it. Now, but before we plate it, we want everything chilled, right, refrigerated for about an hour. So you want your shrimp refrigerated, you want your cocktail sauce refrigerated. And why do we want it refrigerated? Because the shrimp that is refrigerated has a really nice snap when it is eaten out of the refrigerator. So you want to try to get the shrimp and the cocktail sauce to be about the same temperature, which is going to be refrigerated. All right. First off, how do we serve it? Well, you can serve it on a number of ways. You can serve it on just a plate with a little cocktail sauce. Or you can take one of my favorite things to serve things with, and as well as I don't mind drinking a martini now and then, and which I think is wonderful. And we're going to take a little lettuce leaf, and we are going to add some cocktail sauce to the lettuce leaf. We're going to put that right in the center, and we're going to make up two of these guys, and we're going to take the shrimp and we're going to put it on the outside and make it so it kind of looks nice. And we eat with our eyes and our nose and our mouth in that order. And let's do 5 of them. Okay, because these are little guys. So we'll do 5. There we go. We've got one, and now we're going to do another one. And we're going to put the sauce in there like that. And we're going to take and do 5 again. And the shape and the way we're decorating it is so critical. And people like to go in, especially if you're in a restaurant. And as I said, shrimp cocktail is probably the most loved or favored things that one gets when they go into a restaurant, as an app. Okay. We now have that, and we have and you'll notice that I use 2 different sizes of martini glasses. Why did I do that? Because the higher one looks bigger and maybe a little bit fuller, and the lower one, and we'll put it right like that, so we get a good look at it. I personally like the smaller one, but I wanted to show you the difference, the visual difference about how it looks with one size versus the other. So we have a little bit of shrimp cocktail left over, and my sous chef here, Mr. Metal Heron, which is really designed as a green heron, is standing by, probably trying to get himself a piece of shrimp, which, there may be some left over, and there's certainly some left over for my producer, who likes to eat a lot. But I just wanted to show you how to do this. Now, let's talk about shrimp. Where does shrimp come from? Shrimp is basically throughout all the oceans, and it is a saltwater animal. It is also farmed, and it is farmed in places like Florida and Vietnam and areas in South America, as well as Central America, and there are a huge number of shrimp, different species of shrimp, and they all have a very different characteristic. So, but one of my favorite shrimps happens to be what is called a red shrimp, and it comes from the Carolinas, and it is just dynamite. We really don't have any natural shrimp up here in the New England area, but so we get them imported from places like India and Vietnam, and they normally come in frozen, and a frozen shrimp is good. And if you can get a fresh shrimp, you probably end up in southern Florida or Louisiana or someplace like that, and you can get a frozen or fresh shrimp there, and they are simply dynamite. The shrimp boats are these boats that have these two massive masts on the side of them. They're called outriggers. When they're fishing, they drop them down like this here, and they tow nets from here and here, and then they haul the nets back in there, and then they ice them down, and that is the way they do it. So, what do we have here? We have delicious shrimp cocktail, as well as a delicious shrimp that we have flavored with a number of different things. So, to all of you, enjoy your appetizer, enjoy your shrimp, and try adding some spices. And please feel free, we will give you the recipe for the liquid that we cook them in, and you're really going to love this. Okay, thank you for watching Delicious and Nutritious. Looking forward to the next time we get together. Take care. Bye now.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the health benefits associated with seafood and shellfish. And there's lots of different types. Anything with a shell that comes from the sea would be a shellfish. Lobster, shrimp, clams, scallops, and then we've also got seafood, which would be our fishes. So there's what we're going to talk about are the types of shellfish, the nutritional and health benefits of shellfish, and also some of the risks and safety issues that you need to be concerned about. So there are two kinds of shellfish, crustaceans and mollusks, also known as bivalves. So the common crustaceans that you're probably familiar with are crab, lobster, and shrimp. Some of the common mollusks or bivalves are oysters, clams, mussels, scallops, and snails. And there are more crustaceans and more mollusks, but those are just a few that I wanted to share with you. So as far as the health benefits of shellfish, they are high in protein but low in calories. And for most of us, as we're getting older, that is a good thing. We're still as hungry as we were when we were younger, but our metabolisms might not be as high. So we may not need as many calories as we did. So anything we eat, if we can make sure that it is high in nutrients, but not high in calories, that's always going to be a benefit to our overall health. So shellfish are high in protein, and it's also a lean protein. It's very easy to digest. It helps with our muscle growth because we're always turning over cells and new muscle cells are being developed. Also helps with muscle repair. And protein can help you to stay full longer. Sometimes it can stay in the stomach a little bit longer. So we do have that sense of satiety. So to reinforce how it is high in protein yet low in calories as compared to other protein foods that we may eat, 3 ounces of shrimp will give you about 84 calories with 20 grams of protein and no saturated fat. If you remember from other Delicious and Nutritious segments, we've talked about saturated fat being the type of fat we should try to avoid. Typically, we're going to get it from animal foods, but we can also get it from things like coconut oil and palm oil. So compare 3 ounces of shrimp to 3 ounces of beef. 3 ounces of beef is going to provide about 213 calories, 21 grams of protein, and about 5 grams of saturated fat. So the protein is consistent, but you're saving calories and saving saturated fat when you're choosing something like a shellfish. And I think penny for penny, price is probably not going to vary that much between the two. So it might also be as affordable and more nutritious for you. Some of the other nutrients that are found in shellfish are many vitamins and minerals, and also antioxidants, which are typically vitamins too. So vitamin B12, vitamin E, and niacin. B12 is great for cell growth and repair. As we get older, sometimes we do get deficient in B12. So eating foods rich in B12 is always going to be a good idea. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant. It prevents that process called inflammation in our body that can harm the cells in our bodies and lead to chronic illnesses. Niacin is a B vitamin, great for helping us use the energy from the foods that we eat, the calories or energy from foods we eat. Potassium, zinc, and iron are 3 minerals. Potassium helps with fluid balance and heart rhythm. Zinc is great for your immune system, and iron helps to carry oxygen throughout our body, especially to the brain, where it loves to be. Selenium, another trace mineral. We need very small amounts of selenium. More and more research being done on selenium to help prevent cell damage. And I mentioned that zinc is great for your immune system too. Another thing that shellfish has, it doesn't have that saturated fat, but it can be rich in omega-3 fatty acids. And we tend to think about the fatty fish like salmon, but mussels, crab, oysters, and squid are also sources of omega-3 fatty acids. And these are considered those good fats that we should be trying to have more of and less of those saturated fats. So lots of good reasons to add some shellfish to our diets, maybe once a week or so, maybe even twice. So with we also need to consider shellfish risks and safety. About 2% of the population has an allergy to shellfish. Usually this will last a lifetime. People don't typically grow out of a shellfish allergy. If you are allergic to shellfish, what happens when you eat it is your body triggers an immune response. Your immune system thinks that what you just had is foreign and it needs to be gotten rid of. Your body gets into this heightened mode of let's get rid of this item, causing an allergic reaction. And this reaction could be anywhere from mild to dangerous. It could be a rash or it could be anaphylaxis. So those of you who know that you are allergic, know that you can get great amounts of lean protein without saturated fat from many plant-based foods too. We don't want you to start eating shellfish if you're allergic. You also need to be careful if you eat raw shellfish. Some shellfish is safe to eat raw. I'm going to let Jerry talk a little bit about that perhaps when we finish up with this part. Eating some raw shellfish can cause an illness or an infection called vibriosis, and this is from a bacteria that lives in warm salt water. Symptoms can start within 12 to 24 hours of eating an infected raw shellfish: vomiting, fever, chills, diarrhea, stomach cramps, basically making you feel really miserable. Most people will get over it, but you're going to feel miserable for a bit. But if you do eat shellfish and you experience these symptoms 12 to 24 hours later, and you don't get better within a day, or if you trust your instincts, you might need to call your doctor and seek professional help because of dehydration more than anything. So while shellfish is good for us, we do want to be careful about allergies and eating raw shellfish. So I'm going to end there, and we'll open up for some questions from all of you. And maybe if no one has a question right away, maybe Jerry, you can talk a little bit about eating raw shellfish or seafood. When is it okay? And I'll be honest, I'll divulge that I did have raw tuna last night.
I think raw tuna is delicious, and I think that raw shellfish is very good. There is one issue that really needs to be considered, and that is refrigeration. And it is critical that you keep the temperature of the shellfish at the refrigerated temperature. And that is really what is important. Marcia mentioned the word Vibrio. Vibrio is a real problem. Not so much of a problem up in our area, but south of Connecticut, uh, uh, people eating raw oysters, there may be an issue, especially down in the Gulf, because Vibrio is there, and it can cause issues, and it's not an allergen. It is actually a pathogen, and it is, but the key really is temperature control. And do I eat raw oysters and raw clams? Absolutely. Do I eat sushi? Right on. But the key is I am very critical about where I get my shellfish or my raw seafood, and I am very critical about who prepares it for me. And I am not against eating raw shellfish, but if you have an issue and you think that you might be allergic to something like shrimp, then please do not try it because it can be fatal. And it's a common factor. And okay, I'm just going to sum up the health issues for eating raw products are well known. And if you go into the restaurant, you will usually see at the bottom of the menu is that eating raw food or undercooked food can be hazardous. I want to emphasize that. Tom, I am going to stop talking, and Marcia can open up for questions.
So does anybody have a question for myself or Jerry? Maddie? Oh, you're muted, Maddie.
Okay. What about cholesterol? Lobster and shrimp, is there a concern with cholesterol levels in those?
So awesome question. There is there's a good amount of cholesterol in shrimp and lobster. However, cholesterol in the foods that we eat does not link to elevated heart disease risk. It is the saturated fat in foods. So pay more attention to the amount of saturated fat than the total cholesterol.
Okay.
So great question. Jerry, I had a quick question. Do you bring the water to a boil, then put the shrimp in?
I usually like to bring the water to a boil, and I call it a low boil. It doesn't have you don't have to have steam all over the kitchen. And I do that because it gives me a timing point. So once it's boiling, then I dump the shrimp in. I look at my watch, and the watch is saying 2 minutes, 1 minute. Turn it off, and then I rinse it under cold water. And I like to, as I said, I like my shrimp refrigerated because I love that snap and that little
Yep.
crunch
Yep.
that you get. And I also like my sauce, my cocktail
Nice
sauce
and cold.
refrigerated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So any other questions before we have to close? So, well, as always, Jerry and I thank you for being here with us. We thank BID-Plymouth, PAC TV, and the Plymouth Center for Active Living for collaboration and supporting Delicious and Nutritious. Most of all, we thank all of you, our participants and our viewers, because without you, Delicious and Nutritious would not happen. So from Jerry and I, have a great day. Take care.
Bye now.